On the channel, I mostly cover trading pairs with support and resistance and trading on exchanges that provide probably not as much potential gain. Like there's no Binance coverage really here. There's no leverage. Mostly everything I cover is going to be off Coinbase. And of that, my account is allocated in special ways. Some is allocated to swing trades. Some is allocated to day trades. Some is allocated to grid bot trading. Everything's allocated a little bit different. I do also 100x trade on a different exchange where I could never bot. That's way too dangerous. And for the grid bot, I look at this from metrics of buy and hold. I don't compare it to like my swing trades or anything else because obviously I can out trade it by hand when a trend is starting, but for the most part, things are ranging. So I'm going to cover this particular bot and the way I use it and how I look for a new pair. This is for the BitsGap trading bot, and it's how I find a new pair to trade for the S-bot grid portion of it. All right, so when I'm looking for a new pair, volume's a guide along with the range speed. Looking for something ranging, not trending. Like I said, if I wanted to make more gains faster, I would find something trending. But trending is only like 15% of the market. It's hard to catch that. You know, you got to sleep, you got to go to work. Grid put to work on something that's for the buy and hold metric, that's just going to grind away. It's slow, steady chopper. It's a wallet pattern. It's a great thing to trade. And if you apply it to the right kind of ticker at the right time, it provides fantastic, solid gains. And if you have enough money in your wallet, you know, start about 20,000 or so, it does okay. You know, you try to shoot for 1% a day. That's okay. Now, this trade is measured for success against the buy and hold metrics. Like I just said, I wouldn't, you know, compare this to 100x trading or leverage or anything else where you have more potential to make faster gains with more potential for faster loss. This doesn't provide that. You know, this is like, hey, I bought BTC at 60,000 and let's see where it's at, you know, in 3 weeks. And in 3 weeks time, you know, it goes up to 65, it goes down to 55, it goes up to 65, goes down to 47, goes all around. But the buy and hold guy, he never sold. He never locked any gains or never locked any loss. And at the end of the 3 weeks, if it's ranged up and down all over the place and it ends up at 60,000, he's exactly net zero. He's not up, he's not down. He just wasted 3 weeks of time and, you know, call it one BTC, 60K. He locked up 60K for no reason, or her. So what's the answer to that? Well, that's for grid. That's where grid comes in, where something's going to be ranging on a rather tight range and not leaving the range. That's where you can make more money because as you grid bot traded, as it went up, you sold. As it went down, you sold. It just, you know, covered grid up and down everywhere. So at the end of the 3 weeks, if you made 1% a day, you made a little bit of money. Not as much as you could have made if you could have caught every single move perfectly 100%, you know, from 60 to 65 or down to the 47, you got to short. That's obviously going to outpace that, but a lot of people can't trade that anyway. So what's the answer for people that are just getting into it? They don't have a lot of skill and they would like to get something better than a 401k return. Well, that's where something like grid bot comes in, and for ranging markets is perfect. The part you do have to know though is knowing when to turn off a bot counts for just as much as when to start a bot. Those two metrics are very, very important. Key decisions, spelled that wrong. Key decisions, I guess I didn't even save it right. Key decisions when to stay in a trade. So should have been how to start. Deciding how to start the bot. 50-50, meaning, you know, 50% of your orders above, 50% below, 70-30, 70% sells, 30% buys, or say 20% sells and 80% buys. And how do you set your first range? Deciding on trail me down, trail me up, and deciding on the trailing stop area. Those are the most important parts for BitGap, and I'm going to cover. So we just had a pair we turned off. It was XYO. We made the gains we wanted to make on it, and it trailed all the way back down. I'm in a position, but it got to where it was, you know, just slipping under 1% a day. Now the next bounce is going to go up. It's going to go up a lot, but I don't want to sell little fractions and pieces as it goes up. So I'm going to sell it all at once at a higher shot at the top of the range. Auction is a token that I had going on there. You can see that chart. I started very, very high. I didn't have the option to sell any above. I could only go below. So as it sank down, I was scaling in, and each little pop, I was selling some off. On the next rise up, I'll be back over above in the green on the overall change. It's made, you know, 41 bucks, nothing too big. It's making 1.27% a day. And, you know, it's just doing its thing. It's just going along. Could you have made more on buy and hold? Well, if that was your buy and hold where I started the bot at the top, you'd be way underwater right now with no gains. This is working itself in and out, catching 20 cents here, 20 cents there, 40 cents here, 40 cents there. I can go to sleep, I can go to work, I can do whatever, and it just does what it's going to do. On the next pump, I may decide to turn this bot off because I'll have all my gains plus everything that I own that it bought on the way down that it's going to clear on the sales. I'll be back 100% in cash. And I may at that time look at this trend and decide that it's going to start to continue on. And maybe I want to just get in all at once and take a higher shot versus a little bit of grid. I may just take my money to another token entirely, like I did with XYO. And those are your options. So if you look at like Sheeb's done really well for me. Over 20 days, it's averaging 2% a day. This started with a trail me up and a trail me down, way lower. And it's just been following along. I think the original range was set to like 32. I could have made way more money in a one-way trade, but that's not what this part of the account's for. This part of the account is for what I would have bought and hold anyway. So this is trading that money and it's making me 2% a day. The goal is to take this bot to 20,000 and then let it trade, 1% a day, try to find good tokens and pairs. That eventually will take it up to 100,000, and then the 100,000 to try to keep it consistent about 1% a day. I know there's days that pop like today, it adds a lot back. And then there's flat spots where you don't really make anything because it's consolidating. And that's what we're going to look at. That's where you start deciding if you're going to trail up, trail down, and if you're going to 80-20 split or 30-40, percent above or below. And that's like kind of the magic right there. If you were to start this bot here at 1090 with 10% above for sales and 90% for buys, you got screwed. You set it the wrong way. Now, if you set this for 90% of sales above and 10% buys, expecting it to not dip too much, like maybe you turned it on right here and you were like, all right, cool. All my sales are set for above. And I'm only going to put a little bit of money into buying. You dip, you'd be 100% into token. You'd be a little bit underwater like this because now you've, gone below where you started the bot. And as it starts to trail back up and take off, you're selling fractions at each grid all the way up until you're all the way out of money. Now I'm almost all the way back into cash. Trail me up has already had to remove some sells and some buys and move things up so that it has something to work with. That's fine. I always like trail me up and trail me down. The absolute stop trailing down right now is at 33. So if this just comes all the way back down and buys everything up and starts to bag me up before the next push, and it gets to here, it'll just stop. It's not going to keep trailing down. It's not going to move orders around. That's just it. It's done. That probably is good too. Like if you're at work or you don't have a lot of time to look at the trends every day and decide, is the trend over? And is it just, flipped? Is it going to just go to the depths and never come back and get any more sales? You might not want to add any more. Same for the trail me up. There's a spot where you might just want to stop, take gains, and turn the bot off. That's very, very important. Right now, we're just going to look at turning a new bot on. This is not the demo account, so you can just see real quick. Demo's off. So this is my money. And there was about 17 something in here earlier. I have about 4,000 open dollars that I can throw on something. So the first thing I want to decide, do I want to look at any one of these pairs that I've already got running that's a winner and add more money to it? Jasmine, probably. I only had, about $2,000 in it, something like that. I think I started with $1,800. It's up $920 now. It's made a 3% a day over 17 days. That's a solid token. I probably should throw the difference onto Jasmine right now. I'm not going to, just so you can see how bot starts. And plus, Jasmine is really topped. I'm not super impressed with maybe restarting it and adding a lot more, 80% above and 20% below. It's set about how I would set it anyway. The only difference is that I'd put more money on it and I'd be probably putting 80% of my buys below and 20% sells above because I think it's going to range in there. How would I decide that? Well, we're going to look at that on TradingView. TradingView, the first thing I want to do is find a token that I want to look at. And I was looking through Coinbase and I decided of the tokens that I can trade, so you can see like my Sheebs, they're just grinding up and down and doing this thing in this range. I want to come over here and I want to look for two key metrics. One, I don't want to trade personally a token that has less than about $15 million in volume a day, because if you do, you get a lot of flat spots. That's terrible. No good. You want this ranging peak to peak as fast as possible. And I'll show you over there what that looks like. So first I'm going to look for something that has good volume and has a chart that doesn't look like it's trending. If it's trending up or trending down, unless it's ending, I'm not so much interested. I prefer something like this, but unfortunately that's a currency pair. That's no good. You want something super choppy and peak to peak is real small. That's good too. Again, a currency pair, kind of trending on the up, it's not choppy enough. We really want choppy. And then what's the volume look like? 5 million on 88 cents. That's not 15 million a day. So if we looked at this, all right, Look at all those nasty spots. Nothing happened there. No buys, no sells. No buys, no sells. Price is just not glitchy enough. It's not choppy enough. There is nothing there for us. Now, when you scale out to like an hour, you're like, oh, that doesn't look so bad. Except for the distance from this peak to that peak. That's an entire, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. That is not what we're looking for. We're looking for this kind of price action on the 5 minute or less. So this peak to this peak needs to be like 5 minutes. So you're getting that range, because grid, every time you're going down, you're buying. Every time you're going up, you're selling. That's where your money's made. If you're only going to get between, these 5 days, 100 sells, and you're only making like 15, 20, 30 cents every time a grid moves, stale money is dead. Now, if from here to here, you get 3,000 buys and sells, that's a lot better. You're looking for that. You want to be turning and turning over volume. So would the market chart on this work if this was a lower time frame? Yeah, it's okay. But it's not that. It's on a higher time frame. Peak to peak, too far apart and too low a volume. So let's find something else. This is where your due diligence comes in, knowing a little bit about trading, knowing your thresholds of what make Grid Bot work best. A gold looks okay. It's pretty choppy. $3, 577,000. It's a little shy on volume. It's a contender. If you had nothing better, you could maybe get away with that. Sushi looks pretty good. Boy, look at that chop. That's nice. $11. 2 million traded. That's about 15 million. Getting close in there. It's okay. This looks pretty good. That's pretty decent. It's in a range, it's not trending down or trending only up. That has potential. Wrapped centrifuge, $1.88, but unfortunately only 535,000 traded. So we know what's going to happen. Flat spots, pass. Good chart, wrong volume. Ray, sort of potential. These weird flat spots, not so much interested. And also look at the volume. It's trash. Pretty much everything is trash right now. Now, once you've decided everything's trash for the chart, for a perfect chop start, you could look and say, okay, something's breaking out. I could put 90% of my buys above with 10% below, and I could run that kind of chart. Or something that's totally on its way down, bottoming out, you could put, 90% below as it's going to finish buying up and then start to bounce and sell. You've got options, but that's your next choice. That's what you have to look at. I think sushi was probably something that is worthwhile looking at. And also, if I get stuck with the token, if it's going to bag me, is it a token that I can get rid of later that's going to come back around on the next cycle? That's the second thing. I don't want to trade something that doesn't have a lot of interest, has low volume, could get hurt in the market. No, I want to trade something that's got some user base in case. People that are like, yeah, sushi, I'm going to use it to govern, whatever. It's got some use that has interest. It's a DEX token. So let's look at sushi. On the 1 minute, it's pretty much trending up. Top of the range, so the bottom of the range, about 10. Top is 12, 20%. It's not too bad. How long does it take it to do that? That's not too bad. Over the last, month, it's been between $9 and $12. If that was maybe on intraday top to bottom, I'd probably really be interested. It's got potential. Sushi could work out. I wouldn't go too heavy on it, but it's got some potential because it's range bound. So let's look at sushi. But also, I had ASM looked at for whatever reason. Another user was throwing something on it. All right, so it's a brand new chart overall. It's only a few days old. And you can already see that it does the old Coinbase thing that they do. They list and they either, pop or drop and then bounce generally once they find their support level. This one has done so. So probably 7 cents to 10. That's the range, but it's tightening up. I'm not sure that I like that. But it's got potential. It's kind of dying off. There's not enough glitchy. So I'd almost be purely buying in, and I think the money would slow down. And it might not. It might start to get rangy again, but I've got overhead wicks. So that's definitely an area that I would want to look at and say, hey, that's probably an area where I'm not going to clear. And that's the bottom. So that's my range. And it's mostly trending up till it found volume in there. So let's throw a volume profile on there. Where's the interest levels at? Let's just go from there. All right. And this is how we would set our range to the side. Ooh, not good. So it's below where the most volume interest is. It's not sitting on top and maybe gonna range between there and there and possibly maybe go up to the top. Looks more like it's gonna start to sell off and look for a lower volume area. The next lower volume area is right there. That about coincides with, you know, the bottom of the range of interest. So your interest levels from there to there. 8.5 to 9.12. It's probably not enough. Man, it's slowing down. So we're probably going to skip that. It had potential. It was there. It was decent, but not as much anymore. Let's look at sushi. Let's look at sushi on Coinbase as well. That's where we trade. That's where I trade. All right. On the 1 hours, where's the most recent move? That's the most recent move. It doesn't look so fantastic either, to be honest. I'd almost leave this money sitting and wait for a better play, or to find something that's going to start breaking out and one-way trade it intraday. What's this look like? That's some crazy volume. Oh, we're above the most interest. So probably between 12 and 1140. It's not fantastic either. It's not totally interesting, that volume profile. And the peak to peak is just not fast enough. You know, like where I'm talking about from this peak to the bottom, to the next peak to the bottom, to the next peak to the bottom. It's too many days. You know, that's 27, 8, 9, 1, 2. That's like a week. Those peaks are week to week. It's not enough. Not enough with the range. Not on $1. I don't think so. Not fast enough. Well, realistically, there's nothing to trade on Coinbase. There's plenty of other coins on Binance that if I could get back on Binance, I would trade. So right now, I've got 4,000 open dollars. So what are my options? What's my best option? My best option is to go back and go ahead and trade what we said was already a winner for us, which was Jasmy. Let's just take a look at Jasmy again. All right, and Jasmy I had set up I was looking at. So from the start where I've been running it, it was about 5 cents. And, you know, there's your highest volume levels. And there's where it trailed off. There's where it picked back up. So inside of all that, the entire range, we are above that highest volume. That pretty much is support. And then on the inside, which is just from this point to this point of this trend, same thing. That's the most interest. And it's kind of in there. I'm suspecting, though, that it's going to probably give away with people taking profits. And if it lets go, none of that looks good for holding it. The next support is down there. So how would I want to set my range? Probably 7 cents up to 13 high. So how would we set that? About exactly how we have it set now. 7 cents up to a 13 high. The question is, do I want to get rid of everything now and add more money and just reset the exact same levels? And this is probably like a 60, 40, 70, 30 split where there's 30% sales and 70 buys. Do I really think that it's going to hold in that support and bounce up higher? Well, if that's the case, then I would put 20% sells below and 80% above. And it's going to automatically market buy. It's going to buy me in, bag me up 80% of my money. And it's going to put sells up above. If those fail, it's going to start going down. It's going to fall past my lowest sell. So I'll be 100% in coin. And if that's my trail me down stop, it's going to keep trailing all the way down and then trying to sell each little pop, you know, as it goes along to average me out. I don't think this is in the best spot either to start the bot on. I probably at this point would just leave that money sitting sideways and wait for the market to open in the morning and find something that's going to trend just real fast like that pop and try to get on that. Put all the money in one trade one way and use the other part of the bot, use the C bot, and or just trade it by hand, which is generally what I do. I don't use the other portions of BitsGap. I only use the grid. Let's go ahead and just change that range anyway. We're going to add, 2,000 more to it. So far, that bot's done really well for us. And just so we can see it, we're going to go ahead and stop this bot. I'm just going to go ahead and cancel all its open orders. Those open orders that I have up above, I'm going to go ahead and just put them into a single cell and lock them away. I'm going to go ahead and set them at 14 cents. As soon as it's done canceling those out. And this is what I talked about stopping the bot. What do you do when you stop it? Well, if you don't stop it above the top of the range, If you don't stop it above the top of the range where you're already all the way back in cash, then you have supply and you've paid an average going into it. So right now we have $5,350 we can put on this. We have 4,000 Jasmy. We're going to sell those on limit. We're going to put those in at 14 cents because one, I know that's above everything I paid for it. And two, I'm okay with that. I'm not really interested in hanging on to this coin. So we would have had about $600 more come back to us. Let's go ahead and throw that on there. All right, so that's locked up. The bot won't have any problem trying to decide what to do with it or anything else. Now we got to decide how we're going to allocate that. Well, it's a really good runner, but it's in an odd spot. There's my other spot that's interesting right there. All right, so 9. So maybe I'll put more money on and I'll put on less grid, less spread, so that there's more money on each grid. So as the range is tapping back and forth, I make more money. Or I can spread my risk out and open the grid up further and put less money on each. That makes me decide how do I want to spread my money allocation. I think I'm okay with just probably putting in, minimum of 3, 4 on this. Let's just go ahead and put in 4. Let's start a new bot. All right. So we have 5,000 we can allocate. Let's go ahead and allocate let's allocate 4,500. So I need to leave a little bit of money for something else as well. Leave 44.95. And obviously the high price is way too high. We said where we wanted to chase was maybe 12 or 13, something like that. And obviously the low, clearly don't want the low price way down there. That's unbelievable. So 7 to 9. I think I'm going to go 8 because it does look sketchy. And I'm going to put the trail me down up there at... we're going to move the low price just a little bit. That low price. And we're going to stop trailing down at... let's call it 7. 7.3 is probably good. I want to kind of tight stop, then I can do something else with it on my own. All right. Do I want 100 grids? Probably not. Grid step percentage. It's been running, but I think it's... yeah. We're going to go just a little higher on this one so that there's a little more money on each one as well. All right. So let's just go ahead and do that. All right, so please note, start this bot. It's necessary to buy 9,592 Jasmy. We're going to buy it at the market. We're buying kind of on a pullback, but that's why we went about 80-20. I'm not sure we're going higher yet. I feel like we're about to triple top. So this is going to start to scale me in slowly. Yes, I'm fine with that. So most of my money is going to be in cash with just a little bit being peeled off to throw some grids up above and get the bot started. It's going to go ahead and do its thing. You can come back over to Coinbase and see it start to do that. So there's the buy that it made. From that buy that it's going to make, it's going to start to layer grids above. Like you see it starting up, it's adding placing orders. So it's going to place all my buys down below for my cash. And then the money we just physically spent to market buy a bunch of Jasmy is going to be the orders being placed above. And you'll see them populating here. There we go. There's all our buys. And then our sells are starting to populate, and they're going to be equal amounts for each order, whatever dollar amount I put on each one. And then as it goes up in sells, it'll sell smaller pieces, but the same dollar amounts. So you'll get the same equal buys all the way through as far as profit. All right, so it's going to start up. It's going to do its own thing. Hopefully we set a good range between 9 and 12. I'm hoping just to catch this range for a couple of days. And if it starts to trail down, then obviously it'll average down. And on each pop start to sell. I'm hoping for that mostly. I mean, only down to where my bottom is and then another pop. Worst case scenario is that it just pops and runs past the top, sells all the supply we have, and we have nothing else to trade. No big deal. Turn the bot off, take your money, allocate it somewhere else, or wait for a pullback and reallocate. But that's the things that I look for the trail me ups, trail me downs, how I look at my volume, where I'm looking at my ranges to set something, how I'm looking at even something worthwhile trading, minimum 15 million volume. And then deciding if we're at the top of the range, a bottom of a range, and how to set the percentage of buy or sell to either side. Those are the most important things to do in the bot. I'll do a much more in-depth tutorial because this is already way too long, but that's the minimum that you have to know to really set the bot up and get the most value out of it.